My name is Captain Marcus Kine, and I never thought I would die as entertainment for alien royalty. The arena stretched out around me like a giant bowl carved from shining crystal and black stone. Bright lights floated high above, casting sharp shadows on the sand. Thousands of aliens filled the seats that rose in circles all the way to the sky. They were tall and graceful, with shimmering scales that changed color when they moved. Some had 4 arms, others had glowing patterns on their skin. They all watched me with curious, amused eyes. Heavy chains hung from my wrists. My clothes were torn and dirty after weeks in their prison cells. I stood in the center of the arena, alone. The sand felt warm under my bare feet. My body ached from the long journey through space, but I kept my back straight. I had faced worse things than this. A deep horn sounded and the crowd grew quiet. On a high balcony covered with golden jewels, the royal family sat watching. In the middle stood Princess Varicol. She was taller than most humans, with smooth violet skin and bright glowing eyes. Long silver hair flowed down her back like liquid metal. Sharp claws tipped her fingers, and she wore a flowing robe that sparkled with every small movement. She looked beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade wrapped in silk. She raised one elegant hand, and her voice rang out across the entire arena, clear and powerful. Honored guests of the Krixvora Empire, she said, her tone full of pride. Today we have a special treat, a creature from the new species we discovered beyond the outer stars. Human. The crowd laughed softly. I could hear their amusement in the strange clicking and humming sounds they made. Princess Varicol smiled down at me. Her violet eyes sparkled with confidence. Look at him, so small, so soft, no claws, no scales, no natural armor. He has only 2 weak arms and slow legs. This pathetic little human will not last a minute against my champion. Laughter exploded from the seats. Some aliens pointed at me and shook their heads. Others clapped their many hands in excitement. I looked straight up at the princess. Our eyes met across the distance. For a moment everything felt still. I did not smile widely or shout back. I simply gave her a small, calm smile. Inside my head I thought the same words again and again. She has no idea. She did not know my name. She did not know what I had done before they captured me. She did not know that humans had survived ice ages, wars, and dangers that would break most species. She thought I was weak because I looked soft. That mistake was going to cost her. The princess lifted her hand again. Bring forth the champion. Another horn blew louder this time. A huge gate on the far side of the arena opened with a loud groan. Out stepped the champion. He was enormous, almost twice my height. His body was covered in thick, dark, armored plates that looked like living metal. Muscles moved under the armor like heavy ropes. In each of his 4 hands he held a long energy blade that crackled with blue light. His eyes glowed red as he stared at me. He roared once and the sound shook the sand beneath my feet. The crowd cheered wildly. They stamped their feet and waved colorful banners. They believed the fight would end quickly. I stood still and studied him carefully. His steps were heavy but fast. The blades moved with perfect control. He was strong, well-trained, and clearly built for killing. Any normal person would have felt fear looking at him, but I had learned long ago that fear was a luxury I could not afford. The princess leaned forward on the balcony, her silver hair shining in the bright lights. "Champion," she called, her voice sweet and cruel at the same time. "Show our guest how weak this human is. Make it quick. I want to hear him beg before the first minute ends." More laughter rolled through the arena. The champion raised all 4 blades and pointed them toward me. He took one step forward, then another. The sand shifted under his heavy feet. I breathed slowly, feeling the rhythm of my heart. My hands hung loose at my sides, the chains still dangling from my wrists. I did not run. I did not shout. I simply waited. Inside, my mind was clear and focused. I remembered my training. I remembered the long years of service in Earth Special Forces. I remembered every mission where people had told me I would not survive. They had all been wrong. The final horn sounded. The champion charged. He moved faster than anything his size should be able to move. The blue energy blades cut through the air with a sharp humming sound. In 3 long steps he closed the distance between us. The crowd leaned forward, eager for blood. I waited until the last possible moment. Then I stepped to the side, smooth and quick. The first blade missed my shoulder by only a few inches. The second blade came down hard. I twisted my body and let it pass just beside my ribs. The third and fourth blades followed in a deadly pattern. I kept moving, using small steps and careful turns. The chains on my wrists swung lightly as I dodged. I was not trying to win yet. I was learning. Every swing of his blades told me something new about his speed, his reach, and the way he balanced his weight. Princess Vral laughed loudly from her balcony. "See, he runs like a frightened animal. Is this the best the human race can offer? Pathetic." Her words echoed across the arena. The crowd joined her laughter. But I was not running out of fear. I was buying time. I was watching the way the champion planted his feet. I was noting how his armored plates shifted when he turned. I was remembering every small mistake he made. Another heavy swing came toward my head. I dropped low, feeling the blade pass just above my hair. Sand flew into the air as the blade struck the ground. I rose quickly and moved behind him for a moment. My muscles felt warm and ready. The champion spun around with surprising speed. His red eyes narrowed. He was starting to realize I was not as easy as he had expected. Princess Vayral's laughter grew quieter. She tilted her head, watching more carefully. Now 30 seconds had passed. I still stood. The champion raised all 4 blades high and roared again. This time there was anger in his voice, not just show for the crowd. I looked up at the princess one more time. Our eyes met again. She was still smiling, but the smile no longer reached her glowing violet eyes. A small line of doubt had appeared on her perfect face. I whispered softly, even though she could not hear me yet. "You said I would not last a minute, princess." The champion charged again, faster and harder than before, but I was ready. The champion's roar filled the arena like thunder. He rushed at me again, all 4 energy blades flashing bright blue. The crowd leaned forward, expecting the fight to end in seconds. Princess Vayral watched from her high balcony with a confident smile, her violet eyes shining with amusement. I stayed calm, my heart beat steady in my chest. I had faced bigger threats before, and I knew one simple truth: size and weapons do not always decide the winner. Timing and patience do. The first blade came straight down toward my Head, I stepped sideways at the last moment. The blade cut through the air and slammed into the sand, sending a spray of fine grains flying. Before I could take another breath, the second blade swung low at my legs. I jumped over it cleanly. The third blade followed in a wide arc. I ducked under it, feeling the heat from the glowing edge pass just above my hair. Champion was fast for his size, but his attacks followed clear patterns. He liked to strike high, then low, then wide. I used those patterns against him. Princess Firol laughed again, her voice carrying easily over the noise. Look at the little human dance. He runs like prey trying to escape. How long can he keep this up? 30 seconds, 40. He will fall soon. Her words made the crowd laugh louder. Many aliens clapped their hands or waved their arms in excitement. They thought this was entertainment. They thought I was weak, but I was not running away. I was learning. I moved around the champion in a wide circle, keeping just out of reach. The chains on my wrists swung with each step. They were heavy, but I could use them. One end of the chain still had a broken metal cuff. It could become a useful tool if I needed it. The champion grew angry. He charged again, swinging all 4 blades in a storm of blue light. I dodged left, then right, then spun away from a downward strike. A sharp pain cut through my skin, and warm blood began to trickle down. The cut was not deep, but it stung. The crowd cheered at the sight of blood. They believed the end was near. I pressed my hand against the wound for a second, then kept moving. The pain was there, but I pushed it to the back of my mind. Pain had never stopped me before. It would not stop me now. Princess Veracol pointed at me with one elegant finger. See, it bleeds. Just like any weak creature, my champion will finish this soon. Humans are soft and slow. They do not belong in our arena. Her voice was full of pride, but I noticed something new. She was watching more closely now. Her smile had become a little smaller. I decided it was time to speak. I raised my voice so the arena microphones could carry my words. You talk a lot for someone sitting safely on a balcony, I said clearly. My tone was calm and steady. Come down here and try it yourself if you think it is so easy. The crowd went quiet for a moment, surprised that the pathetic human had spoken back. Then they burst into louder laughter. They thought my words were foolish. Champion did not laugh. He attacked again, even harder. This time he used his size to try and trap me against the arena wall. I slipped away at the last second and moved back toward the center of the sand. As I moved, I wrapped part of the loose chain around my right hand. The metal felt cool and solid. It was not much, but it was better than nothing. The champion swung 2 blades together in a crossing pattern. I dropped low and rolled across the sand. When I came up, I was behind him for a short moment. I swung the chain hard. The heavy metal cuff struck the back of his knee with a loud crack. The champion stumbled. It was only for a second. The crowd gasped. Princess Veracol stood up from her seat. Her glowing eyes widened slightly. What was that? Did the human actually touch my champion? Her voice carried surprise now, not just amusement. I did not stop. While the champion recovered, I studied the joints in his armor. The plates were strong, but they had small gaps where the pieces met. Those gaps were weak points. If I could strike there, I might do real damage. The champion turned and roared again. He raised all 4 blades high and brought them down together. I jumped backward. The blades hit the ground so hard that the sand exploded upward in a cloud. While the dust hung in the air, I moved forward quickly. I swung the chain once more, aiming for the same knee. This time the metal cuff struck true. There was a louder crack, and the champion's leg buckled slightly. He recovered fast and slashed at me with two blades. One caught me across the side of my chest. The cut was deeper this time. Pain flared hot and sharp, blood soaked into my torn shirt. I gritted my teeth and kept moving. I would not fall, not yet. The crowd was no longer laughing as loudly. Many aliens had stopped cheering. They watched in silence, confused. Their champion was supposed to end this in under a minute. More than a minute had already passed, and I was still standing. Princess Vera leaned over the balcony rail. Her silver hair moved in the breeze from the floating lights. "How is this possible?" she said, louder than before. "He should be broken by now." "Champion, stop playing with him. Finish the human." The champion heard her order. He activated something inside his armor. The blue energy blades grew longer and brighter. Small sparks of electricity danced along the edges. He came at me with new speed and power. I dodged the first 3 strikes, but the fourth caught my right shoulder. The energy burned my skin. I felt the shock run through my arm. My fingers went numb for a moment, but I forced my hand to close around the chain again. Instead of backing away, I stepped closer. When the champion swung again, I used the chain to catch one of his blades. The metal links wrapped around the glowing edge. For a second the blade was trapped. I pulled hard, using all my strength in the champion's own momentum. He leaned forward, off balance. I drove my knee upward into the gap between his chest plates. The impact was solid. I heard a deep crack inside his armor. The champion grunted in pain and stepped back. He shook his head, surprised. I stood straight, breathing hard but steady. Blood ran down my arm and chest, but my eyes stayed locked on him. I looked up at the princess once more. "You said I would not last a minute," I called out, my voice clear across the arena. "I have been counting, princess." "How long has it been now?" The crowd was almost completely silent. Thousands of glowing eyes stared at me in shock. Princess Verikal no longer smiled. She gripped the balcony rail tightly. With her clawed hands, her beautiful face showed the first signs of real doubt. Her violet eyes narrowed as she studied me, really studied me for the first time. She had expected a quick, easy show. She had expected a weak, frightened human who would beg and fall. Instead, she was watching something she did not understand. The champion raised his blades again, but this time his movements were more careful. He no longer saw me as easy prey. I wiped blood from my eyes with the back of my hand and smiled quietly to myself. The fight had only just begun, and the princess was starting to realize she might have made a serious mistake. Champion circled me slowly now, his red eyes burning with anger. The blue energy blades hummed louder than before. Blood ran down my chest and arm, but I kept my feet planted firmly in the sand. The crowd had grown quiet. Thousands of aliens watched in stunned silence, their colorful scales no longer shifting with excitement. Princess Veral stood at the edge of her royal balcony, claws gripping the rail. Her glowing violet eyes stared down at me without blinking. The proud smile she had worn earlier had faded away. "Champion," she called, her voice sharp and commanding. "Stop holding Back, use everything. End this human. Now the champion obeyed. He pressed a hidden button on his armored chest. Bright energy shield flickered to life. Around his body, glowing like a second. Skin of light, at the same time small. Spikes extended from his shoulder. Plates, the blades in his 4 hands, grew even longer, crackling with fresh power. He charged again, faster and more determined. I moved quickly, but the arena felt smaller now. His attacks came from every direction. One blade slashed toward my head. I ducked. Another swept low at my knees. I jumped. The third blade came straight at my chest. I twisted my body at the last second, but the edge still cut a burning line across my ribs. Pain flared hot and deep. I refused to fall. Instead, I used the momentum of his swing. As he leaned forward, I swung my chained wrist hard. The heavy metal cuff slammed into the side of his helmet with a loud clang. The champion's head jerked sideways. For the first time, he looked truly surprised. The crowd gasped. I did not give him time to recover. I stepped in, close inside the reach of his long arms. In hand-to-hand fighting, being smaller can be an advantage. I drove my elbow into the gap between his chest plates, right where the armor was weakest. The impact sent a jolt up my arm, but I heard a satisfying crack. His shielded arm caught me in the shoulder and knocked me backward. I rolled across the sand, tasting blood in my mouth. My body hurt in many places now, ribs, shoulder, chest, but I pushed myself back to my feet before he could finish me. Princess Veyral's voice rang out again, louder. This time, how is he still standing? This should not be possible. Humans are supposed to be weak. I wiped the blood from my lips with the back of my hand and looked straight up at her. My breathing was heavy, but my voice stayed calm and clear. You keep saying that, Princess, I said, but you do not know my people. We come from a world full of dangers. We survived freezing winters, burning deserts, and enemies who wanted us gone. We learned to fight when we had nothing but our hands and our will. That is who you are facing, the arena. Microphones carried my words to every seat. The aliens murmured among themselves. Some leaned forward, listening carefully. The champion attacked again, swinging all 4 blades. In a deadly storm, I could not dodge everything. One blade cut deep into my left thigh. Another burned across my back. Pain screamed through my body, but I kept moving. I had been trained to push through worse. I had survived missions where my team counted me as lost. I would not die here for their entertainment. As I moved, I noticed something important. The champion's energy shield flickered every time he made a big swing. It used a lot of power. If I could force him to attack without stopping, the shield might fail. I started to speak again while I fought, my voice steady between breaths. You built this champion with machines and science, I said, but we humans build something stronger inside ourselves. We call it stubbornness. When everything tells us to quit, we keep going. I ducked under a high swing and wrapped my chain around one of his lower arms. I pulled with all my strength, using his own weight against him. The champion stumbled forward. I drove my knee hard into the same weak spot on his chest. This time the armor plate shifted. Visibly, a small piece broke loose and fell to the sand. The crowd rose to their feet. No one was laughing now. Princess Veyra's face changed. Her beautiful features showed real shock. She raised her hand and pointed at me. Who are you? She demanded. You are Not a normal prisoner. Tell me your name. I circle the champion, keeping my eyes on both him and her. Blood dripped from my wounds, but I stood tall. My name is Captain Marcus Kane, I answered. I was leading a human exploration team when your ships captured us. Before that, I served in Earth Special Forces. I have fought in wars that lasted years. I have seen friends fall and still kept fighting. Your champion is strong, but strength alone is not enough. The champion roared and lunged at me with renewed fury. His blades moved so fast they blurred. I used the loose chain like a whip, wrapping it around one blade and yanking it sideways. The blade twisted in his hand. For a moment he lost control of it. I seized that moment. I grabbed the trapped blade with both hands, ignoring the burning heat against my palms. With a sharp twist and a pull, I tore the weapon free from his grip. The energy blade was now in my hands. It felt heavy and alive with power. The champion stared at me, frozen for half a second. I did not waste it. I swung the stolen blade in a clean arc. The glowing edge struck the side of his helmet. Sparks flew. The champion staggered backward, one of his red eyes flickering. Princess Viral gasped loudly. She stepped back from the balcony rail, her silver hair falling across her face. Impossible, she whispered, but the microphones picked it up. He is using our own weapon against my champion. I held the energy blade steady, feeling its power vibrate through my arms. My body was tired and bleeding, but a quiet fire burned inside me. This was what humans did best. We adapted. We took what the enemy gave us and turned it into our advantage. The champion came at me again, now fighting with only 3 blades. His movements were less smooth. I could see the damage I had done. His shield flickered more often. His steps were heavier. I met his attack head-on. Our blades clashed with bright flashes of light. Each hit sent sparks raining down onto the sand. Crowd watched in complete silence now. No cheers, no laughter, only stunned disbelief. I spoke once more, loud enough for the princess to hear every word. You boasted that I would not last a minute, but here I am still fighting. How does that make you feel, princess? Are you starting to understand that you picked the wrong human to underestimate? Princess Viral did not answer right away. Her glowing violet eyes were wide. Her clawed hands trembled slightly on the balcony rail. For the first time, the proud ruler of the Krixphora Empire looked unsure. The champion swung wildly. I blocked with my stolen blade, then countered with a strike that cut deep into the joint of his shoulder armor. Another plate cracked and fell away. Pain pulsed through my body from every wound, but I kept standing. My mind stayed clear. I remembered why I fought, not just for myself, but for my captured crew still waiting somewhere in their prisons, for the human fleet that would one day come looking for us, for every person back on Earth who believed we could face the stars and win. The champion fell to one knee for the first time. He pushed himself up, but slower now. I stood ready, the energy blade glowing in my grip. Princess Viral finally spoke again, her voice no longer full of pride. It carried a new tone, anger mixed with growing fear. Bring more warriors, she ordered. This ends now. But it was too late for easy orders. The human they thought would fall in 1 minute was still standing, still fighting and still winning, and the princess was beginning to realize the truth. She had no idea who she was really facing. The champion struggled back to his feet, but his movements had slowed. One shoulder plate hung loose, and his energy shield flickered on end. Off like a dying light, I held the stolen blade steady in my hands, its blue glow reflected in the sand at my feet. Blood continued to flow from the cuts on my chest, arm, and leg, but I pushed the pain aside. I had trained for moments like this when the body wanted to quit, but the mind refused. Princess Farakal's voice cut through the heavy silence of the arena. I said, "Bring more warriors now." 4 new gates opened around the arena walls. Heavy footsteps echoed as fresh fighters marched in. These were her elite guards, taller and more heavily armored than the champion. Each carried energy spears and wore full body shields that hummed with power. Their scales shone deep crimson, and their eyes glowed with fierce loyalty. The crowd stirred again. Some aliens whispered nervously, others watched with wide eyes, unable to look away. I counted them quickly. 4 against 1. The odds were bad on paper, but I had faced bad odds before. I took a slow breath and adjusted my grip on the blade. The chains on my wrists still dangled, ready to be used. The elite guards spread out in a half circle, trapping me in the center. The original champion stood behind them, breathing hard but still dangerous. Princess Farakal leaned far over the balcony, her silver hair catching the bright lights above. Her violet eyes no longer held simple arrogance. They showed something sharper, worry mixed with anger. "End this farce immediately," she commanded. "Do not let the human embarrass us any longer." The guards moved as one. 2 came from the left with spears raised high. The other 2 attacked from the right, shields forward like moving walls. The champion joined from behind, swinging his remaining blades. I did not wait to be surrounded. I charged toward the 2 on the left first. My stolen blade met the first spear with a bright flash. I used the force of the clash to spin around and swing low. The blade cut across the guard's leg joint. He stumbled with a surprised grunt. Before the second guard could strike, I dropped to one knee and swept the chain in a wide arc. The heavy metal cuff caught his ankle and yanked hard. He lost balance and crashed into the sand. I rose quickly and drove the energy blade into the gap between his shield and armor. The guard cried out and fell. Still, the crowd gasped loudly. Princess Vera slammed her clawed hand on the rail. "Impossible. He is one against many." I turned just in time to block a spear thrust from the right. The impact jarred my arms, but I held firm. I stepped inside the guard's reach and used my elbow to strike the side of his helmet. At the same time, I wrapped the chain around his spear and pulled it free. Now I had a second weapon. The second pair of guards pressed harder. One thrust his spear at my chest. I twisted away, but the tip grazed my side, opening another cut. Pain burned fresh, but I kept moving. I swung both the blade and the captured spear in wide circles, forcing them to stay back. My mind worked fast. These guards were well trained, but they fought with perfect form and honor. They expected their enemy to fight the same way. I did not. I fought like a human, using every trick, every weakness, every chance. I spoke again, loud enough for the entire arena to hear. My voice stayed calm, even though my body ached. "You call us soft because we have no scales or claws," I said, "but softness is not weakness. We learn to survive by being clever, by never giving up. Your warriors train for glory. We train to come home alive. One guard lunged at me with his shield. I dropped low and rolled between his legs. From behind I struck the back of his knee with the spear. I finished the move with a quick strike from the energy blade that disabled his shield. The champion saw his chance and attacked. From behind, his blades came down hard. I spun and blocked with both weapons. Crossed above my head, the force pushed me down to one knee, but I pushed back. Up with a shout of effort, I kicked out hard, catching him in the damaged chest plate. He staggered backward. Princess Vera's face had lost all color. Her glowing eyes were wide with disbelief. She shouted orders, but her voice cracked slightly. Fight harder, he is only one human, take him down. The remaining guards attacked together. Spears and blades filled the air with flashing light. I moved like water, never staying still, always flowing to the next opening. I used the sand to my advantage, kicking clouds of it into their faces to blind them for a second. I used their own bodies as shields, forcing one guard to block another's attack by accident. One spear cut deep into my right shoulder. I felt the hot pain, but I did not drop my weapons. Instead, I grabbed the spear with my free hand and pulled the guard close. I headbutted his helmet with all my strength. The impact dazed him long enough for me to disable his armor with a precise strike. Now only 2 guards, and the champion remained standing. My breathing came hard. Blood covered much of my torn clothes. Every muscle burned. But I stood tall in the center of the arena, holding 2 captured weapons. The crowd was completely silent. No one cheered for their own warriors anymore. They simply stared at the human who refused to fall. Princess Vale stepped back from the rail for the first time. She looked truly shaken. Her beautiful face showed fear she could not hide. She raised her hand and pointed at me. Who are you really? She demanded, her voice carrying across the arena. No ordinary prisoner fights like this. Tell me. Sweat and blood mixed on my face, but my eyes stayed steady. I already told you, I replied. I am Captain Marcus Kane of Earth. My people have fought among ourselves for thousands of years and still built great things. We crossed oceans, climbed mountains, and reached for the stars even when the odds were against us. You thought you captured a weak creature for your games. Instead, you woke something much stronger. The last 2 guards attacked at the same time. I met them with controlled fury. I blocked one spear and used the other weapon to strike the second guard's shield. I spun between them using speed. In surprise, one guard fell after a strike to his side. The final guard backed away, breathing hard. Champion charged one last time. I dropped both weapons, grabbed his damaged arm, and used his own strength to flip him over my shoulder. He crashed heavily into the sand. Before he could rise, I picked up the energy blade again and pointed it at his chest. He stopped moving. The arena was deathly quiet. I stood among the fallen warriors, breathing heavily but still on my feet. I looked straight at Princess Veral. You said I would not last a minute, I called out clearly. I have been counting the whole time, Princess. Many minutes have passed. I am still here. The question now is, how long will you last when more humans come? Princess Veral stared down at me. Her clawed hands trembled. The proud, boastful ruler had vanished. In her place stood someone who was beginning to understand the mistake she had made. She had no idea who she was facing, but she was starting to learn. The elite guards who could still move slowly backed away from me. No one dared attack again. I lowered the blade but did not drop it. My body hurt everywhere, yet a quiet strength kept me standing. This fight was not just about survival anymore. It had become a message to her, to the entire empire, and to my people still waiting somewhere in the dark. The princess opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She simply stared. Her glowing violet eyes filled with a new and unwelcome truth. The human in the arena was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The arena lay silent under the bright floating lights. Bodies of the fallen guards and the broken champion rested in the sand. Around me, my stolen energy blade still glowed in my right hand, but I lowered it slowly. Blood covered my torn clothes and ran down my arms and legs. Every part of my body burned with pain. Yet I stood straight and faced the royal balcony. Thousands of aliens sat frozen in their seats. No one cheered, no one moved. Their shimmering scales had gone dull with shock. They had come to watch a quick, funny show. Instead, they had seen something they could not explain. Princess Veral stood alone at the front of the balcony. Her silver hair moved gently in the breeze, but her glowing violet eyes were wide with disbelief. Her clawed hands gripped the golden rail so tightly that small cracks appeared in the metal. The proud smile she had shown at the beginning was gone. In its place was a look of raw uncertainty. I took one slow step forward, then another. My bare feet left bloody prints in the sand. The chains on my wrists clinged softly with each movement. I did not rush. I did not need to. The entire empire's royal court was watching, and every eye was on the human who refused to fall. Princess Veral raised her hand. Several royal guards aimed advanced weapons at me from the edges of the balcony. Energy rifles hummed to life, their tips glowing red. One word from her and they would fire, but she did not give the order. Instead, she stepped down from the royal platform. Narrow crystal bridge extended from the balcony to the arena floor. She walked across it alone, her long sparkling robe flowing behind her. The crowd held its breath as the princess of the Krixvora Empire descended into the arena with me. She stopped 10 steps away. Up close, she looked even taller and more graceful. But fear had taken some of the shine from her beauty. Her violet eyes studied my wounds, my steady stance, and the calm look on my face. Who are you? Really, Captain Marcus Kane? She asked. Her voice was quieter now, no longer amplified for the crowd. It carried a mix of anger and something close to respect. No simple prisoner fights like this. No weak species turns our own weapons against us. Tell me the truth. I met her gaze without blinking. The pain in my body was strong, but my voice stayed clear and steady. I have already told you the truth, princess, I said. Humans are not soft because we lack claws or scales. We are strong because we never stop. We come from a world that tried to kill us many times. Cold, heat, storms, and our own mistakes. We learned to rise every time we fell. When your ships took me and my crew, you thought you captured easy entertainment. You were wrong. She took one step closer. Her clawed fingers twitched at her sides. You should have died in the first minute. My champion was built to destroy armies. My elite guards have never been defeated, yet here you stand covered in blood, still speaking with such calm. How a small, tired smile touched my lips, because giving up is not in our nature. You boasted loudly that I would Not last a minute, I counted every second. Many minutes have passed and I'm still here. Your people watched the whole time. They saw what one human can do when pushed. The princess glanced at the fallen warriors behind me. Then she looked back at the silent crowd. For the first time she seemed to realize the damage her boast had caused. Her empire and LT Unk and GT's greatest fighters had been beaten by a single human who carried no advanced armor or natural weapons. She straightened her back and lifted her chin, trying to regain her royal pride. Even if you won this fight, you are still my prisoner. Your crew is locked away. Your ship is in pieces. One victory changes nothing. I shook my head slowly. This was never just one fight, Princess. This was a message. My people are coming. We explore the stars with hope, but we also know how to defend ourselves. We have faced stronger enemies than you can imagine and come out stronger. Today your entire court learned that humans do not break easily. Princess Verol's eyes narrowed. She raised one clawed hand as if to give an order, but then lowered it. The royal guards on the balcony still aimed their weapons at me, yet none of them fired. They waited for her command, but she stayed silent for a long moment. I continued speaking, my voice carrying across the quiet arena. You can kill me. Now your guards have the power, but killing me will not erase what happened. Here, every alien in these seats will remember the human who stood alone, and one day will tell their families. The story will spread through your empire. And when the human fleet arrives, they will remember this day too. She took another step forward. We were close enough now that I could see the faint glow of her scales shifting between violet and silver. Her breathing was faster than before. Why did you not kill my champion or my guards when you could have? She asked. You had the chance many times. Because I did not come here to destroy your people, I answered honestly. I came as an explorer. Your empire chose to make me an enemy. Even now I choose mercy, but mercy has limits. If you harm my crew or attack Earth, that choice will change. Princess Veriko looked down at the sand for a moment. When she raised her eyes again, the arrogance was gone. In its place was a new understanding. She had boasted in front of her entire court that the human would not last a minute. That boast had failed completely. I lowered the energy blade completely and let it drop into the sand. The glowing edge dimmed and went dark. I stood unarmed before her, still bleeding but unbroken. You said those words with such confidence. I told her softly. You won't last a minute, human. Funny, I am still here. The real question is, how long will your empire last if it continues to underestimate my people? The silence in the arena felt heavier than ever. The floating lights above seemed brighter. Every alien watched the princess and the human standing face to face. Princess Verol opened her mouth, closed it, and then spoke in a voice that reached the highest seats. Lower your weapons, she ordered the royal guards. They obeyed immediately. She turned back to me. You have earned a temporary respect today, Captain Marcus Kane. Your crew will not be harmed for now, but do not think this changes everything. The Krixvora Empire is ancient and powerful. I nodded once. Ancient does not always mean wise. Powerful does not always mean unbeatable. Learn from today, princess. Humans are not your entertainment. We are your future neighbors, whether as friends or as something much harder to face. She studied me for a long moment. Then she stepped back and raised her hand, the crystal bridge extended again. She walked back toward the balcony, her robe trailing in the sand. Before she reached the platform, she paused and looked over her shoulder one last time. "You have surprised us all, human," she said. "Perhaps we had no idea who we were facing after all." I did not reply. I simply stood there, tired, wounded, but victorious in the middle of the arena. The crowd began to murmur. Again, some aliens stood and quietly left their seats. Others stayed talking in low voices about what they had seen. Inside my mind, I thought about my crew waiting in their cells. I thought about the human ship still searching for us, somewhere in the vast darkness of space. This fight was only the beginning. The spark had been lit as the royal guards approached me carefully to take me back to my cell, not as broken entertainment, but as something far more important. I allowed myself one quiet thought. She had boasted that I would not last a minute. I had lasted far longer, and the Krixvora Empire would never forget the day a single human taught them what real strength looked like. The stars were waiting. Humanity was coming, and next time we would not be alone.